Today's topic is about incentives and rewards within our PBIS framework. So just to give you, again, a little bit of a background, and these might be useful slides that you may want to incorporate in maybe a back to school training or just a review with some of your staff members, because this is a topic that gets brought up often by people who maybe don't have the stake within PBIS, or they're feeling like, why do we need to incentivize these kids, right? They should be doing these good behaviors. We're just giving them rewards, right? Like that participation award or something that we're always giving these students. Why do they need this extra stuff? But it's important to realize, in addition to fostering the intrinsic motivation, because our intrinsic motivation, what we would like these students to develop in the future, is motivated by extrinsic rewards. And we can leverage those by providing students with opportunities to earn developmentally appropriate incentives, like those tangible items, access to preferred activities, food, etc. Okay. And again, a topic of conversation that sometimes comes up during our trainings, even with people who are bought into PBIS, but maybe don't understand the value of giving an incentive, is we as adults get incentives all of the time. I think of myself as a credit card holder for Southwest. Anytime that I pay my bill on time, right? I pay, I get rewards, right? I get those miles. If I weren't doing what I was supposed to be doing, those miles may be removed. You can think of it the same way as if you went to work and you did all of this work, right? None of us probably would go to work if we didn't get a paycheck at the end of that. That is our incentive to keep going and keep doing well. If you're a safe driver and you have Safe Auto as your insurance carrier, they will give incentives for somebody who hasn't been in an accident. So there's a variety of ways that us as adults receive incentives as well. Again, some students need those intrinsic motivators to keep those students engaged. It provides encouragement, and it provides visual and tangible indicators of progress, success, behavior, and performance. A lot of the times we've got those kiddos who we like to call them the invisible middle. They do everything that they're supposed to be doing, but they're not the ones that are receiving that affirmation from their teachers all of the time. Maybe because that teacher is solely focused on, the kid who's always misbehaving or the kid that is going above and beyond. So a tangible reinforcer is going to really help those kids feel that they are having success. It gives those students and goals and milestones to work towards, and it creates that positive and motivating buzz among those students. If you've put up your board and you've given out those tickets and you've given out those incentives, it's really going to be like, hey, how did you get that? What can I do to get that? And it creates that buzz among those students to make them want to do better. When are we giving those? Well, as we all know, if you guys are in this program and have a framework running, those behavior expectations should be posted and clearly communicated to students at all times. This is not something that we're just slapping up on the wall and forgetting about it. We need to review these often with our students. And then the big part is when we observe our students meeting those expectations, that's when we're giving them an incentive. So very, very vital that when we're handing out a card or whatever incentive you're using, it is attached back to your expectations. Thank you for being respectful and being polite and kind to others. Thank you for being responsible and keeping our school safe and clean. Whatever your expectations are, students need to know which expectation they met. That way they can replicate that behavior in the future. School-wide incentive systems often develop a reputation among students for only being for a certain group of students, and that's really what we want to avoid. We want to avoid those students who are like the role model students being the only ones that receive those tickets. We can't forget about our students too, who have those glimmers, right? Who have that like little tiny glimpse of good behavior. We want a balance, and the balance creates consistency and that feeling that, to eliminate that feeling that our students often have that, oh, I'll never be able to achieve that award because I'm not in such and such group. And just a reminder too, we can praise a student without giving out an incentive. So it's helpful to remind students not to expect or ask for tickets. We get into that trick sometimes where you have a kid who behaves and then all of a sudden they're looking back at you like, hey, you gonna give me a ticket? So again, that builds that intrinsic motivation to want to do well just because it's what you're supposed to do. How do we do this? We've reviewed this before, but just to give you again a little review, we always want to pair an incentive with a description labeled praise. This is called behavior-specific praise. So wanting to move away from the good job, great job, all of the times, make sure it's specific, because when a child knows exactly what they did correctly, they're able to replicate in the future. For example, Trevor, I noticed how much you participated just now, really appreciated hearing your voice. And we do that, pairing that with that ticket. How do we do that again? And it's critical to monitor the effectiveness of the incentive system and make adjustments as needed. And again, this is often the topic of conversation that comes about during our TFIs when people are in the thick of it, have been doing this for many, many years, and they're saying it's getting a little dry. People are a little bit bored of it. So we need to take control, and the things that we can change are below. The menu of incentive options, okay, so what can our students work for? Whether or not we use tickets or offer immediate access to those incentives. Obviously, with our bingo board, students might have sort of a delayed receiving of that incentive if they're waiting to get a bingo. So maybe we need to up the ante a little bit. Maybe they're receiving something little in the immediate reinforcer, and then they still have that delayed gratification when they either hit the bingo or see their name up on that bingo board. We need to really evaluate how difficult it is for students to earn an incentive as well. This is often a topic that comes up as well. What constitutes a student earning a ticket? And sometimes at some schools, it might be those above and beyond behaviors, and we're only giving them out like once or twice a week, and students don't see that reward. And we really need to kind of tailor how often we're giving those incentives to students. And it's a tricky formula, and it's something that often takes time for you to really get a pulse in your district and understand maybe the ratio of tickets given to that good behavior. We need to keep in mind how long students must wait to obtain those earned incentives, like I mentioned, daily, weekly, quarterly prizes, and whether or not students can lose incentives and privileges. It's something that we often do not recommend, is taking away an incentive or a privilege for a student. However, when we get into the upper grades, this is something that you can talk about or decide upon. If you have a student who is supposed to be participating in like a fun day at the end of the year, okay? So that's something to consider as well. The best way to figure out your menu of incentives is to survey your students and staff. And throughout this presentation, which will also be linked to our Padlet, all of the pictures in here are links to different things that you guys are welcome to make copies of, to distribute, to use, to edit, whatever you need to. But these surveys, and again, they're all linked. One is a student survey, and you might be thinking, well, we have elementary students. There's no way for us to really have a form that they fill out. This can be something that the teachers are just reviewing, talking about in their class, taking notations of what the students want to work for. Go on Amazon, Temu, all of those things, buy those kind of cheap things. Kids love just those little trinkets and things, but get an idea of what they want. Fidget spinners used to be a thing of the past. Everybody wanted one. Maybe that's not something that they're super interested in anymore. So make sure you're changing your incentives based on the current clientele that you have in your district. Another thing to consider is to survey your staff members. This could look like a survey that they take. Maybe they're filling this out at the beginning of the year. It can be asking, this example says favorite snack, favorite way to relax, favorite gum flavor. You can think of all kinds of different examples, or you can just be frank about it and say, would you like to earn a jeans day or an early out? All of these are acceptable ways and that we can really survey our staff and our students to make sure that what we have available is meeting the needs of what they want. On this slide, again, you'll have access to the slide deck at a later time, but there are several different links here that'll take you to list of incentives. I'm going to pull it up here, and menus and reward charts of examples that you guys are able to view and what some of these do, which is really nice. It tells you what grades it would be good for, but also the cost of each of these, which I find to be very beneficial, because what you might think is something that is should be, a couple dollars or whatever, might be something that you can find for free or it's inexpensive. This one in particular too has a value column, which is nice because if you are using like a store or a ticket system, it gives you a value to that as well that you can kind of base that off of, okay? I'm gonna hop back in here for a second. This one over here also gives several ideas for elementary, middle school at the bottom here, high school, and then adults. And each of these have a no cost, a little cost, some cost, and you can really kind of look at any of these and take any of these as examples. So those will all live in our slide deck there, okay? Going back here. Another way to reward staff through monthly appreciations. I think staff often go unnoticed, and it's so important that we're really taking the time to appreciate, especially our staff members who are on the PBIS team, right? They're doing a lot of work behind the scenes, but our staff members are inundated with so many different requests and, different, tasks they need to complete. So we need to make sure that we are showing them that they are valued and appreciated, and they're receiving that recognition. So just some different examples here: muffins, pies, coffee, tea, snack cart. Maybe they're getting a shout out on announcements. Make sure that you're always pulling staff members for your bingo winners. Golden Apple, we had a school district who had kind of like a teacher of the month, and they received a special little golden apple that they kept on their desk. Privileges, preferred parking, dress down days. And this link here will take you to pbisrewards.com. Not only is it going to give you an ultimate list of teacher incentives, and it is broken down into the reward, the price, the category, and the value, but also here, you can go to PBIS incentives at the top, which was linked in the previous slide, but this will take you to incentives for your students. And again, it is listed in the incentive, the grade, the price, category, and value. So each of these has a little description next to them and that you can open up to learn more about, okay? Moving on is, how do we increase student buy-in? So again, a lot of the times, when our programs start to become too much or a little bit boring for our students and even our staff members, that's when we start to see a lot of those naysayers pop up, and they're kind of contradicting maybe the ways of PBIS, and our students, especially our high school students, might not see the value in this. So how do we increase our student buy-in? One of the ways that we encourage is to incorporate a student leadership team. Participation from our students in clubs especially is such a great way to not only practice those social skills, but to develop those leadership qualities. And if you can see this kind of continuum of voice below, whenever we have students who are totally involved in a program and they have that voice and choice, they're able to feel more learner driven and, collaborate with those teachers and make those decisions, and they know the pulse that is happening in the school. They know what students like. They're able to really be that partnership that maybe sometimes is lost between teachers and students, and really act as that gateway to figure out what students are willing to work for. We've got wonderful, wonderful examples of student leadership teams throughout our IU catchment that if you're sitting here and you're like, I have no idea how to even get that started, we would be happy to set you up with some teams who already have some established student teams that could get you some good information to develop that. And you might be thinking too, well, that sounds just like a high school thing. And certainly it lends itself to more of a middle school, high school, but there are ways that you could do an elementary PBIS leadership team as well. They can help you with various tasks like voting, acknowledgements, handing out peer-to-peer acknowledgements, helping with those rollouts. Maybe they're the ones in the videos modeling those expectations, taking turns to be the mascot, helping with morning announcements. We have a school that I can think of that even their little tiny kindergartners are up there helping out with the announcements. So make sure, it's not just a middle school, high school thing. However, when we do get into those upper grades, those students are really to help out with more expectations, maybe filling in the school-wide expectation matrix board, their work helping you with the, pep rally, creating those videos, visuals, voting on to establish those school priorities. And I think a big one, even in the high school here, they're able to really help us out with handbooks as well. Maybe help edit that student handbook, be that lead of those focus groups with faculty members. Maybe they're going to the school board to help advocate for some things that are maybe missing to help make school a better environment. You have students definitely within your school who think school is not exciting, it's boring, it's a place that they hate being. And our goal is to really take that and develop that relationship that school can be a place that I enjoy being and I get something out of. And you're only going to learn, students are only going to learn if they have the ability to feel like they enjoy it. Some other ways to help that student buy-in is to create a school-wide project. Maybe our whole school is working on something like One School, One Book is one that a lot of our schools do. Every student, staff member, parent in the district is reading one book, and then they are able to kind of have different networks where they meet together to do a book talk. Involve your students on, something like a kindness project, kindness rock project, where we're all painting and writing encouraging messages, staff student shout out board, or maybe it's a student versus faculty competition. Again, any way that you can utilize and get your students involved, it's going to create more buy-in from them and make it exciting. School shouldn't be just you get there, you learn, because again, they're only going to learn if they're having fun and they enjoy being in this setting. A school district that they actually presented at the Implementers Forum at Hershey. They provided a PowerPoint of some different ideas that they use. Another way to maybe provide or get more buy-in is to level your incentives a little bit. So you might have your school-wide ticket. However, you may make the decision that you want to move to a 2-ticket system. So teachers all have maybe like a blue ticket in their classroom that they're able to hand out to those students when they see those behaviors, right? Those glimmers of behavior, and they're able to work towards maybe individual scores. Maybe they have to earn rewards or 10, 20, whatever gets them something fun, like a lunchbox, the treasure box, a hat day, a special pen to write with. Maybe it's like bringing a stuffed animal to school. And to take that even further, then those classrooms are able to develop maybe class rewards. Maybe I can say, once our class reaches 100 points, we can have, a pajama day or a hat day or a board game day. And this really helps to create that culture and community when you're a classroom, when you've got kids who are maybe not doing the right thing, but you have those other kids who can kind of encourage them and say, hey, we need X, Y, and Z more points to get this. Let's do this. Let's work together. Another way to change that a little bit is to have a mystery motivator within your classrooms. So it is like a hidden or unknown reward for your students. And it could be something like a pizza party, again, like a pencil, stickers. And that mystery reward is only revealed once students reach that goal. And having it be kind of a secret adds that value of wanting to perform to get it, right? Because if it's something that, you know, I don't like popcorn and you're telling me that I have to watch a movie that I don't like and eat popcorn, maybe I'm like, meh, I don't want to behave today, right? I don't really care about that. But when we can really, you know, have that element of surprise or mystery, maybe give clues all the time, it's going to create that buy-in for that students or that group of students. You can also, again, level this up to grade level rewards. Maybe you have a friendly competition between grade levels. We got a school, have a school in our catchment area that does this. They have visuals in their hallway where we can see, okay, grade 6 is doing this good, grade 7, oh my goodness, they're coming up and they're winning. So a friendly little competition between grade levels. Maybe, you know, it's a house system. So we have a school who is doing like different houses for different grade levels, and those houses are earning points and they have a friendly competition throughout the year, which leads to school-wide rewards. So maybe when the whole school fills up X, Y, and Z, they all get class shields, whatever that may be, then we can have a school-wide reward. Maybe that's like a kickball day, a fun day. So it's just taking our basic, you know, bingo board and kind of expanding it a little bit. And this really helps to create that buy-in to get everybody involved. Some of those school-wide event examples: Kiss the Pig, staff makeover, pie in the face, dance party. You can think of all different things. And this, again, will help if you have students who are voicing their opinions on something they would want. Maybe it's a carnival day, teacher plunge, right? All of the things. They love to get back at teachers, pie in the face. So all of those things are exciting for those students, and they find it probably more rewarding than those little trinkets that maybe we're giving out. Another way we can do this is to kind of increase that buy-in is giving students maybe a little bit extra motivation to get that bingo by providing free spaces on our Principals 200 Club board. So this can look as simple as maybe it's April and I use my die cut machine and I print out some umbrellas and I'm like, hey, you know, crew, we're having, you know, some free spaces. We've had such good behavior, and this helps us to reach a bingo faster. Another way to help is to kind of reverse the role a little bit, right? Give your students the capability to reward teachers. Maybe they're filling out a card whenever they see a teacher doing something like, you know, giving a compliment or doing something nice. And again, this really helps those students to be on the lookout for that good behavior and to recognize their teachers too, because teachers often don't get recognized as much as they should, which leads to increasing staff buy-in. How do we do this? And I think, you know, everybody in here is in the education world, and we know that we're really adapting to a new territory of students, especially that are coming through our education system. So we have students who have varying needs, but that's also increased with staff shortages, staff changes, right? A focus on mental health and extreme behaviors that maybe we didn't see 10 years ago, right? Even 5 years ago, prior to COVID-19. So we're dealing with very different circumstances than we maybe did just a few short years ago. So how do we combat that? Well, we really, really want to make sure that we are prioritizing staff wellness, because if we have educators who are tapped out, they really start to have a negative view on some of these school systems that are built to change or adapt to those challenging behaviors. So we really need to make sure that we have systems that support these actions so that our individual teachers aren't trying to self-care their way out of a crisis. And through our PowerPoint, there's several examples of ways that we can help create that mindfulness with our teachers. But we have schools in, again, our area who have even done so instead of in a service day that we are, you know, reviewing new material and things like that, right? We're taking time to acknowledge their wellness, and we're providing them opportunities to just do a little bit of self-care because we don't do it enough. Two more things to kind of cover. The more that you keep people in the loop, the more they're going to buy in. This is a great example here of a Google Classroom that a school uses, and there's a link to it that you can edit and modify of the different happenings going on with PBIS. And again, this is just a great way for not only your staff members to know what's happening, but maybe your parents too. And this kind of goes along with a newsletter that you might want to send out to your staff members and also your parents, because when they know, they're more willing to help out and really make sure that they're giving money right to some of the fundraising opportunities that we have. So make sure that we are keeping everybody in the loop, and that's really going to help create that buy-in. Okay.